What's up, everybody? Welcome to the P.O. Vincent podcast here on the River's Edge Online Radio Network. I'm your host, Vincent Didiano, giving you my point of view on movies. And joining me once again is my new co-host and longtime friend at this point, Jess.
Hi, guys.
So last week we started our franchise review of the Tremors franchise. Movie that, as we both went over during that review, that we both enjoy very much. I have seen most of the movies. You have not, so this is going to be...
Yeah, I'm making my way through them now.
Yeah, be a fun part of the journey. But late last night, you were given news from a friend that you passed to me this morning.
Yes.
So before we get into the review of Tremors 2, tell them.
Yeah, as of this recording, we are getting a 7th installment of the Tremors franchise.
Yep.
It's going to be released in October. Michael Graves. Gross, thank you.
Graves.
Michael, wow. Sorry. Michael Gross released a photo of what Bert looks like in this film. He's looking a little haggard. He has a really long beard.
Big shaggy beard.
Yeah, it looks like he's been maybe living out in the wilderness. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see why Bert looks so different and where this franchise is going to go.
Yeah, because the title, at least according to the article, which was on Screen Rant, if I remember correctly, the title is going to be Tremors 7 Island Fury.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing, without having to read into it or look things up.
I did read into it a little bit.
Okay.
So it is going to take place on an island,
Yes.
obviously.
Yeah.
And I guess what has happened is there's some rich guy who has taken one of the graboids and put it on this island so that he can hunt it down for what's the word I'm looking for? Trophy hunting. Yeah, he wants the graboid as a trophy. Much like the trophy that we see in this film.
We'll get to it. Save it.
I loved it.
Okay, so Tremors 7 Island Fury. It's coming out in October. Once again, at the time of this recording, we're in early July right now.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have our completed the first 6 before October.
Yeah, definitely.
We record these a couple weeks in advance, so I have plenty of time to edit, and in case something comes up and I need to change something last minute, I have plenty of time to do so. So we'll probably have all 6 done by the time the new one comes out. But when it comes out, you can be assured we will check it out and we will add it to our franchise review. Even once we start whichever the next franchise is, which we'll discuss that more, I say, when we're around reviewing maybe Tremors 4 or 5. We'll start discussing and share it with you, the people. Anyway, but it's time to get to the next one in line. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our review and discussion of Tremors 2, Aftershocks. Yes. So the plot of this one is Earl, returning from the first movie. Him and Val have gone their separate ways, not for any bad reason. Just Val's made a new life with Rhonda. And the problem is Earl's still in perfection. He started a new business, but his life really hasn't improved at all.
Yeah, he put all of his money into an ostrich farm.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone remembers ostrich farms, but they were a big commodity in the 90s.
Yeah, they were the avocado of the 90s.
Yeah, they really were. That was one of my neighborhoods.
But so what's happened is apparently it's become a Mexican oil company has a problem. Graboids have shown up in their land where they're doing the oil drilling, and they're killing all the workers. So they, along with the help from the Mexican government, they are offering Earl to come to Mexico, hunt graboids, and will give him $50,000 per graboid. He's joined by a fan named Grady Hoover, and together they go hunting graboids, eventually being joined by another previous character that we'll get to, which you already mentioned him, but as just when things seems to be going fine because they got all the supplies they could need to hunt graboids, well, the worms come up with a new trick and things go haywire.
It gets crazy.
Yes. But anyway, Jess, give us the download, give us the info on who made this film.
So this one came out 6 years after the original. It's a straight-to-video released in 1996, starring Fred Ward. Earl comes back. Michael Gross makes a comeback. Then we have some new faces. We have Chris Garton, who's playing Grady Hoover, who's Earl's #1 fan. Yeah. That's how he's introduced. And then Helen Shaver comes in as the character Kate, who is a scientist studying the graboids at the oil refinery in Mexico. This one was actually directed by S.S. Wilson, who was on the writing team for the first movie. And he once again did help write this, along with Brent Maddock again, who comes back.
Okay.
And Ron Underwood is still involved a little more loosely. He's one of the producers with Nancy Roberts and Christopher DeFaria. So Kevin Bacon is not in this one.
He is not in this one.
And that is because he turned it down to film Apollo 13, which was filming at the same time as this film.
And I don't think any of us could hold that against
No,
him.
I really don't think any of us can be like, what? Like that was an obvious choice.
Yeah, as much as we're Tremors fans, like once again, since childhood, Apollo 13, that would have been a horrible decision to pass up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So
then we have Reba. Reba was also supposed to come back, but she sadly had to turn it down because she was going on a huge world tour. Which, again, nobody can fault Reba for that.
because
her music career was blowing up.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't have Reba in this one.
Sometimes people forget how, Reba, she's still a celebrity, but how big she was when we were kids.
Oh, she was. I remember.
Yeah.
Reba. My mom likes to tell me that Reba was my first favorite musician, so I get told a lot.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, because the funny thing, there's a whole group of people who know her more for her sitcom than her music, probably, which is kind of I know her for both. Not that I'm a huge not that I'm a huge Reba fan, but she's always been cool. She's always been one of those celebrities that just does her thing, doesn't cause any problems.
Yeah, there's no controversy. She's just Reba.
She's just Reba. But anyway, let's get to the movie at hand. Okay. So, so the interesting part about this, the way we start things off with the movie, okay, once again, it's Earl. He, life is not going the way he wants. And Grady convinces him, hey, man, this could be your big chance and your big second chance to turn things around in your life. And, he's not wrong. I mean, he's being offered $50,000 for every graboid they kill, right?
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that is even today, even if they just made the movie today and that was the amount of money, that's
still a lot of money.
Yeah. And Grady is this new addition to because before Earl had Val, who was younger than him, but still an adult. Grady's like this, even though he is an adult, he's like this big kid.
Yeah, he's definitely in his early 20s, maybe in college, maybe a college graduate, but a fresh youngin'.
Yeah.
A young adult.
Yeah, and he what makes the dynamic between him and Earl is Earl's taking things seriously, right? He's not being he's not being humdrum or something. He's just being like, you don't understand how dangerous these things are, man. But Grady's like, I've been reading all about you in People magazine and all this stuff.
I've read all of these things.
He's thinking more about the adventure, but not really considering the danger, which will come up later in the film when he starts to really realize, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
But, now, obviously, when as you stated, this was a straight to, home video release, and you can kind of tell it's not poorly. It's not a poor one. I've definitely seen poorer. Yeah, it's not like fucking Lifetime Channel or some shit like that.
It's not Sharknado.
Yeah. But you can tell the quality with the film, like the lighting. Once again, not bad, but it's sort of plain in a lot of ways. Not horrible. Once again, I've seen the editing is decent. But yeah, you definitely see that. But one of the things that make this movie fun is and for most of the first third to first half of the movie, the tables are flipped. The graboids are.
Oh yeah.
And it's
they have a method to killing these graboids at the very beginning that really works out until it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to is again, you have to remember that the graboids are intelligent.
Yeah.
And eventually they do catch on, and
yeah. The method that they come up with is, and Earl seems to be the guy who came up with the ideas, is that they attach at least a few sticks of dynamite
to an RC truck, like a little remote control vehicle.
And I love how the first one we see is because I'm sure there was some toy company that sponsored it. And the first one said Thor on the side of it.
Yeah,
I was like,
here we go.
Yeah, and I love how they edited the first one to make it look like they edited low angle with the camera to make it look there actually is some big monster truck coming around, and then it pulls back. It's little little toy car sound. That was fun. So yeah, they drive the toy car along the ground. The graboid comes up, eats it, pulls it down. They flick the switch. Boom!
Yeah, they have this huge detonator. Yeah. It's really impressive.
I know. It's a simple but effective way, I would say, and it goes along with the campy humor.
Yes.
Because you're expecting them to use some kind of high tech tool or something. It's no, it's a toy car that probably cost them $20. And then they strap dynamite to it. But yeah, no, it's a fun way of approaching the graboids. Even though Here's the thing where I'm gonna start getting like nitpicky, because we didn't really, I love the first one so much that maybe I shouldn't nitpick. But the strategy is they drive around in their normal truck, which it seems to be the same truck from the first movie, or at least a similar model.
It does seem to be very similar.
Yeah.
And it is very confusing why they can drive that truck around and not be followed. So that is, that is a little nitpicky.
Because it is, I mean, maybe it isn't, I'm nitpicking or another, but because they're driving around and then they stop the car to throw the toy car out, but the graboids should be on top of them by now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as much as I do like the idea of the toy car with dynamite, there is a little, but they do. They're not always in the car. Like there's a couple of scenes where they have to stay out in the fields overnight, and they get up on a big boulder. So like they're bringing back elements from the first one. Yeah,
and there is a scene where Grady talks about how there are mountains around them, but Earl points out that the terrain of these mountains is different.
It's alluvial.
Yes, thank you. It's alluvial.
This movie is the reason why I know that word, because I heard it when I was a child, so it stuck with me.
It's
alluvial. Yeah, which just means they're surrounded by dirt. Even though like they're surrounded by like big hills, semi-mountain like, there's still dirt.
Yeah.
So
which means that the graboids can absolutely go through.
Yeah.
Those, so. Which
is something that obviously Earl did some research since the first movie. So he decided he checked out the landscape, the geology of the area. Like, okay, there's an oil field area. What else is out here besides oil? Mm-hmm. So it's once again Earl. He's planning, bringing back the P word, plan. So that's nice.
Man with a plan. That is definitely Earl.
Yeah. Let's talk about one of the other new characters. We talked a little bit about Grady. Grady's pretty straightforward. He's this fanatic, gung ho. But we also have the female lead of the film, Kate. And once again, we have the female lead is the smart one in the group. So I don't know if that's a continuing theme or it was just an accident, but here we go.
Yeah, she plays the scientist who is she and her sidekick are at the oil refinery to study these animals, and there is an attempt to catch one alive so that they can study it. There is an attempt.
Yeah, they will. It is offered that if like 50 grand dead, 100,000 alive,
so
and
that these scientists can check
and it's
it
just
out.
there's just a suggestion, but it was like alive, big these things are, because he just wants to fucking straight up kill him because they don't view the graboids as like animals. For Earl, they are monsters.
Right.
They're not some animal that we need to see them in their natural habitat. No, he wants to fucking kill them.
Yeah, and for Kate, it's very much I want to see them in their natural habitat. I want to study what they look like and where they came from.
She's not being naive though.
No,
she's not going to be like I want to touch one. No, she's not.
No, we get a lot of really useful information for her. She is the first character that really pinpoints a lot of information that we didn't know about the graboids before. Yes,
because we mentioned this briefly in the last episode, but in this one we do get somewhat of an origin for the graboids,
just a little bit, yeah,
and it is thanks to Kate. She's looking at this fossil she has that they dug out of the ground because she works in oil refining, so she's a geologist herself, and she's looking at it and she realizes this fossil is one of the spikes on the side of the graboids that allows them to move through the dirt.
And she realizes that these are Precambrian animals, which that's just a term that means before life. So these creatures predate dinosaurs is the easiest way to put it.
Yeah.
Like they were one of the first animals on Earth.
Yeah.
That's how old they are.
Yeah. Which means they're just the insanity of that. I mean, that's like billions of years old, or at least hundreds of millions.
And it definitely suggests that they've been here and they're not some alien creature.
Yeah. Unless we find out in one of the later movies they are aliens and they landed on primordial.
As of right now, we think that they have been here for a very, very long time.
Yes. Which then brings up the question is, where have they been the whole time? Were they sleeping?
Were they hibernating?
Yeah. This is like my headcanon, just as my fan. I don't think it's explained in the later films. I don't believe so. I could be wrong. I mean, I may have missed something because most of the other films I've only seen once or twice.
Okay.
But my theory is that when the asteroid hit Earth, it took out the dinosaurs, hit Earth because that was such a massive hit. The sound, the vibrations that created, I'm assuming because they're sound sensitive.
Yeah, it probably weakened them a lot.
Yeah, weakened them, just threw them into a sound coma. So that's my fan theory. If anyone else has any theory as to why they were asleep this whole time, go ahead, leave down in the comment section. I'd like to know what your ideas are.
Yeah, were they frozen somewhere?
Yeah. Well, in a later movie, we might find out they were frozen. We'll get to that eventually, but So we now have an origin for the Graboids. And speaking of the Graboids, before we move on, for those of you who are listening on Spotify, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. We have the poster up here in the background, and the poster has the images of what appears to be a new form of the Graboids, but what's seen in the poster does not come up in the movie at all.
Yeah, no. It's really funny because I was just saying these creatures on the on the poster definitely look like lamprey.
Yeah, they look a little
but yeah, that's not what they look like in the movie.
No. I feel like maybe that was like an early concept or something. Maybe. They had a different idea but yeah, so that's at most what would happen.
Because they did bring back the full model from the first movie. For
There's definitely shots in here where you can tell.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's get into. Do you want to get into the new trick the worms have, or do you want to hold back?
We can talk about that. So Earl and Grady are trying to catch a graboid, and they somehow trap. Or this graboid's sick.
It's sick.
It's a combination of things. Yeah, the graboid's attacking them, and then something's wrong with it. Something becomes very wrong.
It looks like it looks like it's like it's like got a massive like hangover or something.
It's
like
come up out of the ground.
Yeah, it's mostly come up out of the ground, and it's just laying on the surface.
Grady goes over. At one point, they're hiding behind rocks, and he's like, I don't know what's wrong with it. And he runs over real quick and just slaps it and runs away. And the monster doesn't really do anything. Yeah. So they think that they've captured this graboid because there's something wrong with it. Yeah. It's sick. And they're waiting for Pedro, I think is his name, to bring them another truck because at that point they have crashed.
Yeah, they wrecked the truck.
Yeah, they wrecked the truck. A graboid you'll be missed.
Made through 1.5 movies.
Yeah, a graboid grabs a chain on the back and just.
Oh, that's earlier in the movie.
They get pulled up onto rocks and they're not coming off of that.
Yeah. So it's sick. It's not moving. They go back to the truck to wait. Mm-hmm. They radio. They're waiting for Pedro to come. It's nighttime.
Dark out. They're waiting, and they just keep hearing these really wild noises coming from this creature behind the rocks and these what sounds like it's very much in pain and in distress. Yeah. And Grady's just like, what if something's attacking it? What if coyotes are attacking our worm? Like that's $100,000 right there. Yeah. We got to protect it. And he goes to look, and the worm is dead. And it looks as if something. At first, he says something ate it
because it's like hollowed out. There's this huge hole in the side of it, and it looks like it's like hollowed out or something.
And so Grady at first is like, yeah, something just ate our worm. And then Earl's looking at it, and he said, no, something busted out of the center of this worm.
Yeah.
So this is the first clue that something has drastically changed with these creatures. And then they're looking at, they have the sensor to see if there are any big creatures nearby.
That's like another thing that's given them, is that one of the oil field workers, Julio, went out into the fields with seismographs everywhere, and they're using it as like a radar to detect when they were coming in, which is another, once again, they're thinking about, but so they're running out of options. The truck, Pedro, they can see Pedro with the tow truck off in the distance, but he stops, and then they an hour or something goes by, and they're like, where the fuck? And they finally decide, oh shit, okay, we gotta try to risk it.
There are no graboids nearby. We need to go while the going's good. Yeah. I think that's literally what Grady says. And they trek it a mile from where they are to see what's going on with Pedro.
Yeah.
So they find this truck, and there's no sign of Pedro at all.
No, there's a couple signs of Pedro.
Okay. At first, there's no sign of Pedro. And then they're looking at the truck, and Grady sees Pedro. It looks like he's holding on to the back of the truck. And he's like, oh, man, what's going on? And turns around the truck, and it's just his hands.
Just his hands, his wrists. Yeah, and it's just bloody. Oh, the nubs. And the truck is
eating him.
Yeah, the truck is torn up too.
Oh yeah, the truck is torn up. The engine, and that's another important thing. The engine is really destroyed.
Yeah. So they don't know what's going on. And this is for Grady, this is a turning point for his character. This is the first point where he realizes shit's turning against him.
Because he's, now seen the aftermath of a murder.
Yeah.
And a violent one at that.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, he's definitely, the fear of graboids is definitely put into him.
Yeah, yeah. Because they had a few close calls before, but this is it. Now somebody has died.
Right.
Somebody has died. This is okay, we can't fucking ignore it. And they're and then they're starting to freak out. And they're like, what are we going to do? Earl's like, it's a whole new ball game. It's a whole new goddamn ball game.
And then they decide, the radios are down and they're trying to figure out why. And they see the radio tower and they gather that there's probably a radio that they can use there at the tower. So they tread that way, only to find that the radio tower has also been completely destroyed.
Yeah, the walls have been ripped open, wires and parts and gears and everything just shredded. That was shredded.
And Earl's convinced, these graboids are so smart, they're figuring out how to put us out here and trap us so they can get to us. And
it's getting crazy. That excuse me. So it's getting crazy here, and then we get our first look at what's happened. They start to hear this sound rustling, this metal sidings bouncing up and down. Oh, there's something coming around. Oh my God,
this creature must be huge.
It's massive.
And you're waiting for it and waiting for it, and then it finally turns the corner, and it's last episode you compared the graboids' intelligence to the raptors, and that's honestly the first thing I thought of when I saw these creatures. They are much, much smaller.
Yeah, they're just like mini graboids with legs. little raptor-esque legs because they got the chicken leg formation. Yeah,
it kind of looks like the top of a Venus flytrap with legs.
Yeah,
running around.
Yeah. So the graboids have changed into these little things, which for the purposes of not having to say little things all the time.
I believe they call them shriekers.
Yes, in the third film, when we get it's established that the names for them are going to be called shriekers, and the reason for it is when they find prey, they scream and they shriek and very loudly
to alert the others that they found a food source.
Because there isn't just one, because they start running after them and they blow it away with their rifles, but then a few more pop up around the corner.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 at this point.
Yeah, they hop in the car, they hotwire and they get the fuck out of there. So now there's a bunch of these little things, and they don't know anything about them, but thankfully obviously their rifles could take them out.
Right.
So they hightail it. Oh, and oh my God! Before we get any further, we totally forgot.
I was going to say we totally forgot. So Bert gets brought in a little earlier than this.
Yeah. So before the Shriekers show up, before the graboids mutate into the Shriekers, they reached a point where Earl and Grady are there's still dozens of graboids out.
Too many for the two of us.
Yeah. So they bring in Bert, who Earl calls on a radio phone, and we see Bert's he's in his PJs. He's got potato chips over. Yeah. Bert's fallen on the hard times.
Yeah, we find out that Reba's character's name was Heather, by the way. I did find that out.
We just called her Reba in the last episode.
We find out that unfortunately Heather has left him. He makes this comment that the Cold War has ended in this before this is filmed.
Yeah.
So Heather has an issue with the fact that he can't live in peace times.
Yeah.
He doesn't handle not being in war times very well.
Yeah. Well,
she goes to visit her sister, is what we're told at first.
Because Bert isn't the type of guy to open up about his emotions and stuff, and you can tell that he the way he lives is a way for him to distract himself from stuff.
Absolutely.
But yeah. So Earl's on the phone with him, I got he's trying to act oh, I'm fine, no, yeah, I'm just I got all kind of projects going on,
all sorts of things.
Yeah, and then Earl's I got a situation down here, I need help with. And he's what kind of situation? Graboid kind of situation. And he pops up out of his chair.
Yeah, he just lights up.
Yeah,
he's ready.
But before that, we're back in what I don't know if it's the same set or cellar, but they've recreated it because it even got the right windows. The windows.
Oh no, I believe it's the same room.
Yeah, and you can see where the graboid puts through before.
It starts panning.
Yeah.
And you see, a few of his trophies. He has some deer on the wall, and then it keeps panning, and then there's this huge graboid on the wall. He did have it mounted.
Yeah.
It's just really funny.
It's great. It's just another great moment in that fucking basement. And I believe it could be because I was looking at it this time. I never really looked, but this time I counted the amount, how many tentacles were coming out of it.
Okay.
And I only, I mean, I could be wrong, but I only counted 2. So this could be Stumpy. This could be the Stumpy.
Could be Stumpy.
It could be Stumpy from
Like
the first one.
he claimed it.
Yeah.
He could have.
Could have.
Yeah.
But I love that touch. I look at like he would. That would be something Bert would do. You know.
It is.
I wonder if he had to fight Val for like like.
I don't know. I feel like
Or-
Rhonda wouldn't have wanted that.
No.
You know, because Val, it's
Yeah.
suggested that Val and Rhonda end up married. So
Yeah,
I can't see Rhonda being okay with that.
No.
But yeah, so Bert comes into the picture. He brings this giant army truck, like this arm. Is it armored? It's slightly armored.
It's slightly.
Okay.
It's definitely a big diesel
Yeah.
engine truck that you would see in the army.
Because when they see it, you know, the Earl and Grady and Kate are at the oil refinery, and they see this, what looks like would be a massive graboid headed their way. And then Earl looks out the window and he's like, "Oh no, it's not a graboid."
Yeah.
And then here comes Bert in this giant truck and hundreds of rounds of ammo, and he's prepared.
Dozens of pounds of explosives. He's even got what appears to be some kind of mortar shell or something in the back.
Like he's red.
Because the Mexican government are like, we get these are giant underground monsters. Well, what kind of guns? And Grady and Earl just ask for what they need. They don't they don't ask for it. But Bert's like, I just imagine him like pulling out like a fucking scroll and opening it up like, I want all this. Because
this is all we need.
Because he even gets this big like metal, like, I know all guns, but this is like polished steel rifle it only fires 1 round at a time, and it's an anti-tank round.
Yeah.
This big ass fucking rifle. But he also gets some other guns for Grady and Earl. He gets some a couple of elephant guns, learning from the first movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
how effective those are.
yeah. So yeah, no, and that's when he does talk. We mentioned like how Heather has left him. He's and he actually thanks Earl because he's like he missed Earl. Like, I was fucking wasting away back home.
Yeah.
So I mean, as crazy as this is, I needed something.
So then he finds out that you get $50,000 per graboid,
Yeah.
and decides to make it a competition between the two of them.
Because he gets like 3 in a cluster shot of
he gets 3 in a cluster, and he's like, "Oh well, let's see who can kill the most."
Yeah.
And at the point before we have these new creatures, right before the radios shut off, he radios them and he's like, "Well, I think we're even now. I think we've killed about the same amount of graboids." They're trying to keep track of how many, obviously.
Oh
so.
yeah.
So yeah, we have Bert on his own in his truck, out here, and then we have Earl and Grady out here. So by the time that Earl and Grady figure out that these creatures have changed into something completely different, there is absolutely no way for them to touch base with anyone to let them know what has happened, which is not good for poor Bert, who, at one point is just trying to turn around and go back to base. And I think he pauses to look at the map because he's very obviously lost, and he should not have done that because he finds himself in an ambush situation.
Yeah. Surrounded by shriekers.
Absolutely surrounded. And later on, when he meets back up with everyone at the base, he's like, he's out of ammo because he was surrounded by not just the 2 or 3 that you see in the scene when it starts, because we're left off with a cut scene. So at first you don't know what happened to Bert. They think he's dead.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, he comes. Truck is beat to shit.
Yeah.
like they
covered in shrieker guts.
They've ripped up his truck. He's covered in blood and what looks like some
shrieker. Yeah, shrieker blood, not his own blood.
Yeah.
He seems to come out of it pretty.
Yeah, he's a little beat up, but he's not very injured. Just very shaken and a little angry.
Yeah.
He gets out of the truck like, "I think I missed out on some very vital information that you forgot to tell me." Like, he's pissed.
Oh yeah, he says that I was denied vital need to know information.
And then Earl's just like, "We didn't know either. This is new to everyone."
Yeah, man. It's just funny because he has like one where he pulls out his like 2 sidearms. Like you already said, he's out of ammo, and like that's such a depressive moment because he's like never been in that situation.
Yeah, he's never been in that.
It's like what's happening?
But the silver lining to this is that he managed to catch Shrieker.
Yeah,
and he has it in the back of his truck.
Yeah, and may I say, because he does mention like he was when it was a flat out, he said at least a couple dozen of them, and he said thankfully most of them were in front of the truck, so he was able to like run most of them over. But once again, just credit to Bert. Bert, as much as he's like the crazy guy in the movies, fucking badass. That
he's definitely a survivalist.
Yeah, I mean the fact that he was able to survive that made this new form of the graboids, the Shrieker, that he doesn't know anything about, and he's able to survive. And there was multiples of them, and really incredible. But yeah. One of them was just wounded, and he ties it up in the back of the truck, and they. This is when we start to learn more about the Shriekers. It's like, once again, the moment in the movie where they explain how the creatures work. And the Shriekers, unlike the Graboids, do not hunt by sound.
No. They eventually get this Shrieker into a cage in the oil refinery, and they are kind of doing a few experimentations with it. There's this scene where everyone's underneath a table, and I think one of them takes a broom and pokes it up. To see if the creature can see it, and it can't.
Starts smacking against the counters. It sounds like,
and then stands up.
Yeah.
And the Shrieker shrieks.
Yeah, and it has like this little like piece of its like beak shell that opens up like kind of like a flange or something. Like a heat.
Gross.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's the grossness of the creatures. Like, but it's actually like a heat sensor. Like they can see heat, but when they think they see something, they open up to like make sure, and that's when they start shrieking like.
So and that also explains why they have destroyed car engines and the radio tower. It's not a ploy to prevent the characters from getting out. I think Grady says, you mean they're being so smart because they're so stupid. They just see a heat source and they think it's food, so they go and they destroy it. So that explains like the engines and anything with a higher heat source.
So and then the next part about them that makes them very dangerous, they figure out, is that Grady throws them some of Bert's like survivalist food that he comes in these like little foil packs, and it eats this little bit of food. Now, assuming this graboid had eaten something before or something, and then it literally like vomits out a new baby Shrieker, and they realize it's like, oh,
these are hermaphroditic creatures.
Yes.
They breed through essentially budding, I guess. Like they just split off. They multiply.
Yeah, they multiply, and it's all based on how much they eat. So the more they eat, the more they reproduce, which means, and then they start doing the math that, just a little bit before, like, okay, so when the graboid they saw earlier, the one that they thought they caught live, there was 3 sacks in them, and, so that means each graboid had produced 3 Shriekers.
I think it comes down to like 24. There's 24 Shriekers.
Yeah, 24 Shriekers.
That they know of.
Yeah, well, they took out 3, Earl and Grady, and then assumingly Bert took out the remaining 20, leaving the 21st to be studied. That's how we figure stuff out. But unfortunately, what they didn't realize is that there was one more left. It just stuck under
on the bottom of the
truck, like in the drivetrain or something.
And unfortunately, where they parked the truck is where Bert has kept all of his food.
Yeah, it's like MREs, mails.
This gets into the food.
Yeah.
And while they're in one room experimenting with the one that they have trapped, the Shrieker in the other room is eating and multiplying and multiplying and
they've already got a few of them. Like they not only do they give birth quickly, they grow up quickly. Like the metabolism, the anatomy of these creatures is insane.
We have a rogue Shrieker that comes through a window at Kate, and they realize, holy shit! Like there's now a ton of them in here. We need to get the fuck out of this building. And so they run, and Kate is trying to urge them, like, we need to go to the warehouse. We need to run to the warehouse. We got to get in there. And Grady is just like, no, let's go this way. Like, he sees the closest building and runs for it. And lo and behold, it is not a building. It is a wall. It's just a retention wall with a door.
Yeah, it's an incomplete building that they start to... Which is the thing about... I never really thought about this before, but... I know they've been going out into the fields back and forth, but they've been back to the refinery a few times.
Yeah, you would think he would know that by now.
Did they started building it the last time they went out and they got so much built? I don't fucking know.
But Kate's like, why didn't you listen to me? I told you. I was telling you where to go.
Yeah.
So they think they're trapped. They think that they're sitting ducks.
And this is where the Tremors franchise does what it does. We have the characters be quick on their feet, be creative.
They come up with a plan.
Yeah. What can we use? What do we have around us that we can use?
And they end up finding doors. And they realize that if they 2 by 2 get behind these doors and hold them up, the creatures cannot see them through the door. It does protect them from being seen. So they use the doors to kind of get out of where they are and head towards safety. And they think they're in the clear. They are headed towards the warehouse. And they round this corner, and lo and behold, there's one out in the open, and now they're exposed because they've gotten rid of their doors, unfortunately. They kind of walk right into this trap.
Yeah. Oh, and before we go any further, let's talk about as we did last time. Let's talk about the special effects work in this film because I feel I want to make sure we cover that before we go any further. Much like the first, just like the first one, we have some practical effects. We have we do have some animatronics, puppets for the Shriekers. And I don't know because you said in the last movie they only had one full-sized animatronic graboid, and in this one, I mean, once again, it could be camera trick work. It seemed to me that they have maybe 3 to 4 animatronic Shriekers.
A few models of the Shriekers,
and then they had like some body parts.
And they multiply it with some early CGI.
Yes. Let's talk about the CGI. This is 90s CGI on a straight-to-video movie. And it has not aged well. It
hasn't, but you know what? It really was not as bad as I expected it to be.
I
knew the CGI was coming. Because, there's this scene where there's just like dozens of these creatures, and you can very obviously tell that they were computer.
Oh yeah, because it's got that
generated.
It's got that early CGI gloss to it, like they're all glazed or something. I'll say one thing: the movements of them still looked pretty well for early. The movements were very well done. It's just that glossy look that
not quite real.
No, definitely saw worse back in the day.
Oh, for sure.
Escape from L.A. Fuck.
Yeah.
You ever watch that? The sequel to Escape from New York. You ever watch it? Like they had some very early CGI in that movie, and whereas I can say for Tremors 2, it hasn't aged well, where at least it looked decent back then. The Escape from LA one is just like, no, that looked bad even back then. I should probably do a comparison. What was worse, the Escape from LA special effects or the first Power Ranger movie special effects?
Oh, Lord.
Because the Zords looked like shit.
They looked awful.
And they couldn't even get the sizes right. I'm about to go on a Power Rangers rant real quick. That scene where the Falcon Zord comes in to complete the... Yeah,
that's another franchise we can get to.
We'll get to it.
There's a lot of Power Rangers movies.
Yeah. There's like the scene where the Falcon Zord comes in on the train track, and so because the train track got taken out, or not the train, monorail. Yes. It comes in, and then the train goes. But wait a second. Based on the size of this, that means the cockpit for the Falcon Zord would be no bigger than a large carry-on. So did Tommy shrink down when he entered the?
Yeah,
like they don't get the sizes right. You can tell they weren't thinking about it. Because even as a kid, I was like,
that doesn't work.
That doesn't work out. But they got right back to the explosion. So I was like, oh, okay.
Back to the excitement.
Yeah, but anyway, 90s CGI. We can do a whole episode on 90s CGI. Because if James Cameron or Steven Spielberg wasn't behind it, it was probably bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, So that's one thing I did appreciate about this movie because, being a movie lover, we've seen plenty of movies, especially starting in the early 2000s, and I don't think it really balanced out to 2015 where we saw overuse of CGI.
Just really bad CGI.
Really bad CGI or just overuse of it to the point where we've grown up on it now. So even if you're not a movie expert, even if you're not somebody like us that goes to see movies all the time, you go around, we've grown up on the CGI now, so we can spot it very easily.
And honestly, there are some instances where CGI really ruins a film. I think my prime example are when they redid the Star Wars films to put CGI in the original and the prequels. They went in and they CGI'd the fuck out of those.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They're trash. And they're absolutely horrible with the CGI.
Yeah. And unless you have the old VHSs, Disney, despite they have had Star Wars since 2012 at this point, I think.
They didn't.
They have not re-released the original cuts without all the additional bullshit.
So you have Hayden Christensen in the original now, and it's just it's bull. Yeah. Not a fan.
Yeah, if you have those original VHSs before they made those additions, find
a
buddy.
Really special.
Yeah, find a buddy who's got a video converter or something, or that can convert it to DVD or an MP4. Convert that shit. Yeah. Convert that shit because VHSs, they don't you can more easily lose them than something you can back up on a file. So if you got that, you're lucky. Oh goddamn. Anyway, back to giant carnivorous
Yeah.
worms, or
So-
not worms anymore. Shriekers.
Raptor-like creatures.
Yeah, yeah.
Shriekers.
The Shriekers, yeah. So anyway, so we see all kinds of creative stuff. They're trying to get to Julio's car, but there's a Shrieker in front of him, and then Earl busts out his anti-tank rifle, and he puts it out.
He's like, I have one bullet.
Yeah. He takes aim, fires it. The concussion of the bullet leaving the chamber breaks the window next to him, goes flying, and literally like blows the Shrieker in half. Like there's a massive hole in it.
It's like watching a gusher pop.
Yeah. But they're like, fuck yeah. They start hauling ass to the car, but then they notice the bullet went through a cinder block and then went through a barrel and then went through, I think, a shed or outhouse or something like that and took out the engine of the car. So now they're fucked again. But a Shrieker spots them and then screams, and now they're all like, rah, rah, and then they scatter. Earl and Kate go into the bar, which that's nice. They have a bar at an order.
I know, right?
Fuck yeah, Mexico.
You definitely need a drink in the middle of all this action.
Yeah.
Just have a shot of tequila to boost your courage.
Yeah. Grady gets up on the oil towers.
And poor Bert just jumps into the shovel end of a bulldozer.
Yeah, which they can't see him.
Like down in there, curled up.
Yeah.
And they can't see him. They're at one point the Shriekers do use their tongues.
Yeah,
to
and
taste. That's
a creepy moment too because it's slimy.
Yeah,
it's like Earl busts out his like knife. He's ready to like fucking. Oh god, it's a cool little moment there.
So they're kind of trapped for the moment.
Yeah. Earl and Kate are in the bar, and Earl once again, quick on his feet, comes up with a way to distract the Shrieker so him and Kate can get up on the tower with Grady because. Even though there's, because they're smaller than the Graboids, but they're still sizable creatures.
Yeah, and they're fast.
Yeah, they're fast.
They're very fast.
Yeah, and they're busting through like the walls and the door to the bar. So Earl grabs some like pants or something, puts them through hot water, they're steaming, puts them on a clothesline,
and starts them out.
It's rolling them out, and they go after, and that's when they make the break for the oil tower. But then they're out of options. What the fuck are they going to do now? Now the three of them are stuck up on the oil tower. Bert's stuck in the shovel, and they start getting, tension starts getting to them. Earl's like, I'm stuck up on a roof trying to get away from some
Like here I am again.
Here I am again.
Same scenario.
And he starts like yelling at Grady, and Grady's like, "Oh, so it's all my fault now." And Bert's like, if we'd properly fucking researched this shit, I would have had like belt-fed machine guns and all this shit. And everyone's like, and then Kate has to be the voice of reason. It's like, what, everyone calm the fuck down. Like, no one's heard from us in days. They'll send somebody out. But I don't think they ever cut to a scene of like a patrolman getting eaten.
The government official that comes to talk to Earl, we never see him again.
Yeah, because that was something they did in the first movie. Because the mom points out in the first movie that the road's out. They'll send somebody. Somebody does come. We just see their like what's left of them.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe they didn't have enough budget for another dead person. I don't know. But and now we have this nice little bonding moment between Earl and Kate.
Yes.
Because in the beginning of the movie, we see Earl in his trailer where Grady's trying to convince him to, hey, come do this, man. And he has this up on his wall a cutout from a issue of Playboy from of Miss October 1974, and it's like this really beautiful young woman, not got butt up in the air. She's looking very lovely in this picture, and he's like, that woman is a reminder to me never to like do.
Never to go after something I can't attain.
Yeah. And it's like, it's pointed out there, like, that's a reminder. And he's having this bonding moment with Kate. And she's like, when I was younger, I used to be a model to get my way through college. And she's like, I even did Playboy once. And Earl has this look like, wait a second.
And she is the lady in his poster.
Yeah, she even does the pose too. And, Still got it. She still got it. She's not naked, obviously.
Oh, I want to go back. Now that we're talking about this, I forgot to mention like one of my favorite scenes.
Oh, go
when
for it.
Kate and Earl meet.
Yeah.
You have this flipped scene where normally the male character would be checking out the female character, but it's actually reversed. And there's this really fun scene where Kate's just checking out Earl's ass, like very obviously checking out his ass. Yeah. And I just found that really humorous to see. It was cute.
90s equality.
Yeah, exactly. We can all look at everybody.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay, women. You can admit it. You want some. It's okay. It's okay. But yeah, no, yeah. I think he does look at her ass first, and then.
Oh yeah, it's like a back and forth.
Yeah.
Like
Which,
they're definitely interested in each other.
Yeah.
Very
Because
mutual
the
thing
first time
that
we see
happens.
Kate, she's like walking up, and Earl has this look like whoa, like yeah. Because what's the actress's name again? I'm sorry, you got it.
I do. I have to pull that back up. It is Helen Shaver.
Helen Shaver.
Mm-hmm.
They pick. She's a good looking woman.
She is.
Yeah. They and it's nice because in the first movie Val got Rhonda, and now Earl's the main character. Now he gets the love interest. He gets what he needs because Grady is that like.
He's kind of a fill-in.
Yeah, Grady. Yeah, what?
At first, he's kind of a fill-in for Val.
Yeah.
Like there are a few scenes where Earl tries to implement the rock paper scissors game that he and Val used to play, and the first time he does it, Grady's like, "What?"
Yeah.
And Grady's never played rock paper scissors.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
What? Like he has no idea. And this actually comes back later in the film while they're fighting these shriekers that Grady doesn't know how to play.
Yeah.
Because they come up with a plan and they're trying to decide who's going to be the distraction so that this plan can work. And Grady and Earl play rock paper scissors and Grady actually wins, but Earl's like, "Oh no, rock smashes paper.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I win."
Yeah, and he's like, "What?" Yeah.
And then later on, out of nowhere, Grady's like, "Wait a minute. Paper? Wait, what? No, that's not how that works."
Yeah,
and
and Kate and Bert are both like,
they're like, "You're a fucking idiot."
Yeah. That's the only kind of problem with Grady. That's like that step too far. Is what 'cause I get he's young. He's supposed to be the young guy here, but it's like
it's kind of an airhead too.
Rock paper scissors is universal. Everybody knows fucking
on.
rock paper scissors. And when you're a kid, it's like rock paper scissors dynamite or some bullshit like that.
Rock,
but
paper, scissors, knife, or you always have to throw something dangerous in there.
Yeah, but it's like we get it. Grady's a little. He's not only like naive, he's actually a little dumb or whatever. But So anyways, so we get to the big climax of the movie. Bert has locked the shriekers into like the garage or whatever the fuck.
The garage where his truck is.
The garage truck is.
The only issue with that is, again, the food is there. So
yes. Well, it's not even Bert's. The first time around, it was Bert's food, but now they find out there's like Mexican snack food in there.
Yeah.
Which why didn't they get into that before? It's like they're like once again like we could go back and do Tremors 1 again and point out some problems, but I mean. Maybe I should have, but once again, I got biased. But now that we're like, I'm trying to look at these movies from a critical review standpoint. These things are jumping out. Before I just watched them as a fan.
Right.
But now
they should have checked this area to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in their defense, they probably didn't have time between figuring out what food does to the shriekers.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where they were headed.
Oh, I understand. I'm just saying, why didn't the shriekers find that food before on top of the MREs? Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying they thought they're
probably
multiple.
Because of there's no heat coming out of it.
No heat.
Yeah.
And maybe once the others started running out of the place, when the first shrieker started bust through the window, they just got distracted. Maybe they didn't find the food. We might be making excuses for the film right now. I don't know, but so anyway, so they come up with the idea where Earl is going to get sprayed with fire extinguisher, the CO2, make him cold. He's going to run in there, try to grab a few bombs out of Bert's truck and get out of there and see, so they have some kind of weapon.
Try to grab some dynamite.
Yeah. So he gets in there, and of course the CO2 starts to melt off, and they see him, and they're coming at him, and Bert punches the timer on a bomb, and he just tosses it in the truck.
Yeah.
And then he grabs a ceiling light, and that's on a metal cord, and he swings.
And everyone has climbed up into
on the roof.
Onto the roof, and they find the window, and at one point they throw a rope down, and they get Earl the hell out of there.
Yeah. And
he's like, we gotta go. We gotta go because I don't know what I timed it for. I just lit this bomb and ran.
Yeah. And Bert's like, we gotta haul ass.
Yeah, because he's like, where'd you throw it? I just threw it in your truck. And Bert, the look on Bert's face, he's like, we gotta go.
Yeah. At first they hide by the shed.
At first they're hiding behind a shed, and Bert just keeps running, and he's like, no, you don't understand. This is gonna be huge.
Yeah, because
you need to fucking go.
He's got everything from C4 to dynamite to I even think he had a few flammable liquids in there.
Yeah, he's like, you don't understand how big this explosion's gonna be. We need to go
on top of whatever that cannon or mortar shell fucking thing was.
So they just run, and they end up finding a ditch.
Yeah, water ditch or something.
I think it's an aqueduct.
Oh yeah, a little
aqueduct.
It would be. Yeah.
And they get down in it, and Bert's like, all right, everybody has to get down.
Yeah.
Except Grady, who is not quite getting it. And then, lo and behold, the explosion is massive.
Oh,
in
it's
fact,
huge.
They end up destroying the entire refinery with this explosion.
Oh, yeah. I love They don't show the like the damage at first because they're having like they're like you know,
They're like, we did it, everybody
yeah, and then
survived, we got him.
their little monologues.
Yeah.
Him and Kate are like, you know, like, well, we should start dating, and then like they're agreed. And Bert's like, you know, people call me crazy, but they never fight free came bringing life forms.
They can call me crazy,
Yeah.
but look at what I just did.
Yeah,
Like,
and Grady counted up the math in his head and realized how much money they're going to make from killing all the creatures. And he's like,
maybe he gets his theme park.
yeah, we should do Monster World. You know, come on, Earl, you and me, right? And then that's when they switch to the shot of the refinery. It's just this massive crater.
Yeah,
and like this
they're like,
debris.
well, do you think they're gonna pay us since we blew up the whole thing? Like,
yeah. It's the hazard of the job.
Yeah,
it's,
absolutely.
The giant crater is a nice touch at the end of the film.
It's really funny.
But yeah, no. So, Tremors to Aftershocks. All right, let's talk about it. How it compares to the first film. I think we may have briefly said this to each other like the other night or whatever. I like Tremors 2. I think it's a nice sequel, but I do think it comes up short compared to the first.
Oh yeah, it absolutely does. However, for a straight-to-video comeback of a franchise, I think they did a good job.
Yes.
Because, you know, when you hear, oh, this went straight to DVD or this went straight to video, I think we all kind of expect it to just be awful.
Yeah.
And this was not awful. There are some holes in it, and it definitely is, not as good as the original. But I enjoyed it. This was my first time watching it because, I had only seen the first film a few times. So I watched it. I watched the second one 2 or 3 times just to get a feel for it and know what I was talking about. And I enjoyed it. I think it's funnier.
It does
there's
up
definitely more humor,
which does bring down the scare factor a little bit.
Yes, yeah, it is a little more of a humorous film. We have some montages, we have some. You don't get to see some action, which was interesting. Like I for sure thought that they were going to show us Bert kicking ass.
Yeah.
But
we'll get to see more of that in later films.
But then you really think about it and you're like, they probably had a smaller budget. They probably really didn't have the means to do as big of a scene as that would have been.
Yeah.
Because that would have been huge for one person to take down all those creatures.
Yeah. One disadvantage that this movie has is because like this is a sequel, we already know something about the monsters. It doesn't have the same rising tension as the first one.
Yeah.
And of course not the mystery, because we already know what they are. The mystery comes when the Shriekers are revealed and we start to get the rising of what's going on. But even then, that's much shorter compared to the first film.
It starts out way different.
Yeah, it starts out way different. And even when the whole Shriekers start to show up, there is a rise in threat and tension, but it's not as long as in the original movie because they find out much more quickly about the Shriekers.
Yeah.
And not the same budget, but a decent budget for a straight.
Oh yeah.
Because I think straight to video movies were I feel like they were a lot bigger back in the 90s.
Okay. No, they probably were.
Once again, not the same budget as a feature release, but in terms of like, okay, we also have this market to tap into, where we don't have to release in theaters, straight to home video, because VHS was still whooping ass at that point. You even had people making VHSs out of anything, here's how to properly train your dog, or here's like a kid's PSA video we can make.
Shoes,
yeah. Straight to home video was a much bigger market back in the 90s than it is today. Because nowadays you can just put stuff online.
Yeah.
And even though in a lot of like straight to video movies, like you take like anything Steve Seagal has done in like the past 20 years, it's like
all straight to video.
They're all low budget straight to video, filmed somewhere in Europe or somewhere like that. Oh god, we could do a whole episode on that marvelous douchebag Steven Seagal. Anyway, sorry.
Do we really want to subject ourselves to that?
No, I think did we mention this in the last episode? Am I on a Steven Seagal kick? I can't remember.
Maybe you are. Were you recently unfortunately subjected to one?
I was watching Will Sasso used to do Steven Seagal on Mad TV. I was rewatching some of those.
Oh, Will Sasso did some of my favorite impressions.
Oh, he was great.
He's so good.
He's so good. He was on. I was watching Drunk History the other night. He was in that one, the one Al Capone one they did playing. But Will Sasso, great guy. But anyway, yeah. So didn't have the same budget, but for a straight to video, good stuff. I will not be able to say I won't be able to give much credit to some of the films that are to come up. that are also straight to video. Some will be better than others in terms of like the quality for straight to video. But yeah, so Tremors 2, not as good as the first one. It's but still a solid entry in the franchise. That's what I'll say about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not disappointed.
No.
Got more flaws than the first one, but still, a good follow up.
I like the information that we're given in this film. I like, and I have a feeling that the further we go, there's a little more information given to us.
We definitely get a lot more. Yeah, because we got the third one coming up. We'll be talking about next episode.
Which I'm honestly real excited for that one.
I've not watched the third one in years. I don't think because the third one, as I mentioned last time, leads into the short-lived TV series. Yeah, so we'll talk about that a little bit when we talk about the third one. From what I can remember from the TV series, I actually think it's somewhere on YouTube right now.
Oh, interesting.
Legally or illegally, I'm not sure. So I just want to say, if it's illegally uploaded, I am not promoting it. I just want to throw that out there. I don't need whoever, like fucking Universal, whoever owns the rights to it, coming down on my ass.
No, we're not telling you to look at something.
Yes, do not watch pirated material.
But it might be out there.
Don't do it. No. All right. But anyway, I think that's going to be any closing remarks before we shut it out.
No. I think we covered everything. I'm really eager to talk about the next one. So.
Yeah. So that is Tremors 2 Aftershocks. That's our thoughts on it. If you've been listening to the show and you want us to review another whatever franchise suggestions you have after with Tremors,
start giving us suggestions, please.
Yeah, because I of course have made a whole list, but if there's something that you guys think that would be interesting for us to cover, let us know.
Maybe later we'll throw a poll out. Maybe when we get around to like the 4th or 5th Tremors movie, we'll shoot you guys a poll and let you guys vote. Yeah. And see what the general consensus on what we should do next is.
No, that's definitely, So make sure to check us out on the P.O. Vincent Facebook page. Check us out there. That's where, like, I post stuff to our Twitter and Instagram too, but the Facebook is really our secondary hub after Spotify and YouTube. So please check us out there. And and whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Every little bit helps. Really appreciate it. Yeah. And if you have the change, please support us on Patreon. If not, we're still in 2020. We get it.
We understand.
We understand. We're not. Yeah. So, but until next time, thank you for viewing things through our perspective. Take it easy.
Thank you.